Even chairman speaks clearly. Because we know how to tune ourselves to his voice.
Good morning. I'm calling in from L&T. Am I audible?
It is audible, sir. You can hear you loud and clear. Thank you. I spoke to canteen also.
Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me? This is Srinath from Agnikul. Hello.
Oh, good afternoon, sir. From Aerospace Division, sir. HAL. Is it audible? Is it audible, sir?
You are audible.
Yes, it is audible. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mute ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಡ.
Hello. Am I audible? This is Srinath here from Agnikul.
Hello, can you hear me? I'm Kana Shankar here. And good morning. I see my friend Ranga and quite a few others, Srinath and others. So good morning to you, good afternoon to you, friends. Can you hear me, please?
Good afternoon to all of you.
Hello, ISRO headquarters, Raman Prabhat from Brahmos, Trivandrum. Can you hear me, please?
Hello, this is Bharat from Skyroot. Am I audible?
Yeah, I could hear you. Am I audible? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Colonel Shankar from Alpha Design Technologies. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, sir.
ISRO
Good afternoon,
headquarters, Raman Prabhat
friends.
from Brahmos, Trivandrum. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, sir.
Hello, ISRO headquarters, Raman Prabhat from Trivandrum. Can you hear me, please?
You are very much audible, sir.
Thank you very much.
Hello, can you hear me now? Rajan here. Hello. 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 Can you hear me? This is Rangarajan here. Hello. கால் விழிங்க அவங்களும் அவளும் கால் விழு இப்போ ஹலோ ஹலோ வந்துட்டு போடுதா சம்திங் ராங் ஏர்பாட்ஸ் தெரியல அது வேலையே பண்ணல என்னமோ தெரியல சார்ஜ் ஃபுல்லா இருக்கு ஹலோ
Ranga, we are hearing you.
Good. Okay, it's good. As usual, Shankar to the rescue.
Arun and Lakshmesh, good morning and all the best. And of course,
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
we are all very all of us are very serious.
Very much.
We would like to get into serious discussion. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, you're fine. No, the seriousness indicates how serious is the situation with industries.
Why looking very serious?
Hello, Vaidya ji.
Hello, how are you?
Ravi, how are you?
Raman Prabhat, how are you doing?
Hi, Vaidya. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm able to hear you.
Okay, good, good, good. Long time. Very, very long time.
Yes.
Then I will.
Yes, Mangesh.
How is the situation in Telegram improving?
Yeah, it's same. Nothing changed. 1,200 every day. So, but we are working.
Yeah. Good. Good.
Yeah, Mr. Apurao. Hi, can you hear me? Am
You're audible, Mr. Aparo.
okay. So I better be careful what I say. Jodhpur once. Am I muted? Where's the mute thing? Yeah.
We are waiting for ISRO headquarters to start the operations.
But I also told that it is not to do with the increased outsourcing, and we have given a very catchy phrase called unlocking the potential. So all this is fine. I'm sure most of you must be wondering, so what's in it for us? To understand that and to get more insights, I will now hand over to Mr. G. Narayanan, CMD, NSIL.
Good afternoon to all distinguished members of the Indian industrial aerospace community, other esteemed and interested participants joining us on various channels. Welcome to this afternoon session today, the 20th of August 2020, on the webinar on unlocking India's potential in space sector, organized by the Indian Space Research Organization, Department of Space, Government of India, and dedicated to the theme on launch vehicles and satellites. Of course, I was privileged enough to work with many of you who are live on this webinar, and I take it a privilege that I got that opportunity to interact and work with many of you. Most of you might be aware that the company that I represent, the New Space India Limited, is a public sector enterprise under the Department of Space, specifically mandated with the task of commercial exploitation of India's potential in space sector. The Indian space program had stood out in tapping the potential of the Indian industries much more than any other sector in meeting their requirements, and in this process has grown many by continuous hand-holding. ISRO had many times hesitated to use the terminologies like client, customer, vendor, contractor, etc., and had preferred to address their supply chain participants as partners. Needless to say, both ISRO as well as the industries, and above all, the nation had stood to gain a lot by this engagement. From the days of inception, the industrial scenario in the country has also changed, and the industries have caught up with the rest of the world. Today, they are competing with who is who in the world in many areas. The same is true with the space sector too, and there are industries today capable of independently handling several of these activities. Space, however, by its inherent strategic as well as sensitive nature, had been highly restricted and controlled. Taking note of the potential that has been developed over a period of time in the Indian industries, academia, and others, and assessing the major role they can play in the larger economic growth and well-being of the country, Government of India has taken this bold step of opening up the space sector for wider private participation. This initiative will facilitate these agencies of excellence to develop their own products and offer directly to customers without having to depend on ISRO or the government. It will also help those struggling with minor technical similar issues to overcome those through the promotional activities that have been announced through the Indian National Space Authorization and Promotion Center, and will help them become self-reliant. I am sure that the initiative to offer capital-intensive and unique ISRO DOS facilities essential for those of such private players at a reasonable cost will be a shot in the arm for many to make their dreams come true. While these initiatives will help many private agencies to become global players, this will not only reduce the burden on the government to finance the space activities, but also add a major inflow into the national economy. I am sure all of you would have been eagerly waiting for this webinar with your expectations to know the details of the announcement made as part of the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan and the subsequent cabinet approval for the same. The eloquent and precise address made by the distinguished speakers of the inaugural session would have satisfied your curiosity and answered your queries, if any. I sincerely hope that all of you would have had the opportunity to listen to that. In case any of you had missed, just to remind that the entire session will be available on the official YouTube channel of ISRO for you to watch at your convenience. We are pleased to listen to any specific sector-specific queries you may have and answer them to the best of our capabilities. I do not want to take much time. I now request Sri Mangesh to take us through the rest of the proceedings. Thank you.
Okay, now we will formally begin the speaker session, the participants session. The sequence has been arranged in no particular preferential order. It's just a random order. And in that sequence, the first person to speak would be on behalf of HAL Aerospace, Mr. M.K. Mishra, General Manager, HAL Aerospace Division. Mishra, sir, are you there?
Yes, please.
Please go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon to all of you. Undoubtedly, I can say that India has made commendable progress in the field of space research through ISRO. And particularly ISRO, its launch programs have earned the reputation of being among the most reliable and cost-effective solutions in the world. With the sustained success of ISRO, India is now mature and self-reliant in the space program. The new initiative for promoting and creating a sustainable ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship in the country is a promising step forward in the space sector. This is to acknowledge that opening up of space sector to private industry is to strengthen indigenous capabilities as part of Government of India Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative. Further, with the current position of Indian space economy hovering at around 2 to 3% of the global space economy, and with Government of India's highly ambitious target of $5 trillion USD GDP in 2024, there is a big gap and hence huge potential for the Indian space sector to grow if it has to contribute and show its presence. In the current scenario, HAL as a strategic partner has been associating with ISRO for the Indian prestigious programs since last 5 decades, from the era of experimentation to progressively productionization and commercialization. The facilities here have been augmented and modernized continuously over time to manufacture structures and tankages of different types and sizes, different materials and varied complexities. HAL has supported ISRO throughout its journey and is proud to contribute in its all ISRO space mission, be it Chandrayaan-1, be it Mars, be it Chandrayaan-2, or in the current Gaganyaan program. Currently, as an initiative to expand the business portfolio, facilities for productionization of cryogenic and semi-cryogenic engine facilities are being established at HAL. Also, new facilities are in progress for taking up the stage integration for PSLV project PS to GS2 in line with the stage integration of GSLV. Further, HAL is planning to support ISRO in its endeavor to involve Indian industry for total productionization of PSLV through NSIL. With full range of technological capabilities, HAL aims to go up in value chain for end-to-end realization of the solid and liquid stages of PSLV, along with the integration activities which are presently carried out by ISRO. Thus, the current vision and the path to achieving it provides a greater impetus for the sustained growth in industrial production and capabilities of HAL and all industries. HAL is quite excited and move in this move because HAL acknowledges the challenges. At the same time, HAL works with aspirations. Under this current initiative, while our underlying intention is to reinforce our mature relationship through our tested and trusted expertise and competencies, I am excited to put forth specific points for your views. Number one, As I mentioned to you, sir, with an aim to move upward in value chain, facilities for PS to GS2 integrations are in progress at HAL. It's planned that HAL technical team will initially work with ISRO team as part of technology absorption phase, which would help HAL in carrying out the integration activities independently. This is in line with the GOCO model. And we will seek ISRO's continued support in this direction. Number two, HAL has proven a sort of robust inbuilt quality system wherein not a single case escapes the hawk eye of quality.
Sir, sorry to interrupt. We are exceeding time, sir.
So, okay, sir.
Okay, please conclude, sir.
The manufacturing excellence of division is visible in production of space worthy large component and assemblies with stringent dimensional and quality requirements. And we are sure that the policy framework and guidelines on quality to be evolved by InSpace will take these inputs. And if any scope is there for improvement, definitely it would be highly welcome. Number three, HAL, in consortium with private industry, has offered its intent to support NSIL for productionization of PSLV. I hope that these new initiatives will not have any impact on progressing NSL's plan to offload ISRO's current work priorities to industry. Number four, augmentation of facilities to ramp up the production based on ISRO's future plan is being given prime focus at HAL. Under the current initiative, the common facilities at ISRO, which would be used by ISRO itself along with private industry, that should not lead to priority class. If it happens, then the chairman may advise how HAL would be required to align with the change demand, which will finally lead to need for flexibility in operation. HAL wishes ISRO and InSpace all the best and hope of the bigger business opportunities in this Indian space program. And HAL will be pleased to be integral part of the efforts and contribute immensely towards the government of India initiative of becoming Atmanirbhar Bharat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for bringing out the wonderful relations that these two great organizations share over a period of time. And thanks for bringing out certain points related to the difficulties in sharing the facilities and priority clashes. We will aptly look into these kind of issues. Now I'll call upon the second participant, Larsen and Tobro, represented by Mr. Jayant Patil, Senior Vice President and Board Member, L&T.
Mr. Lakshmesh. Sorry, Mr. Lakshmesh.
He's not there?
Good afternoon, sir. Lakshmesh here. I have our senior colleague, Senior Executive Vice President, Mr. Arun Ramchandani. He would be...
okay, sir. Please identify yourself and go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
And I'll just interrupt you for a couple of seconds. In case there is any change in any other participants, kindly identify yourself before you speak. Okay, sir, please go ahead.
Yeah, so good afternoon, everybody. Mr. G. Narayanan, CMD NSIL, Mr. Venkat Krishnan, and others from the industry. It gives me great pleasure to be part of this whole exercise. And firstly, I would like to compliment the Department of Space and ISRO for this whole endeavor to open up the space sector to private enterprises. As a partner to ISRO for close to 50 years in the area of launch vehicles, we have worked very closely with you, and we believe that this opportunity will give us greater impetus to grow our business in the sector and utilize our capabilities in integration that we have demonstrated in various segments, including defense. Of course, there are a lot of questions which come up at this stage. And like GMHL said, we are very keen to take forward the integration of PSLV through private industry. And we look forward to engaging with NSIL on that. There has been an EOI some time back, and we do hope that with this new era, these things will move forward much faster. Of course, there are a lot of questions in our mind as well. So, for example, this transition from ISRO to NSIL, we have a range of contracts going on with ISRO currently, and how would this transition be managed? How would these contracts be managed? What would be its impact on the space budget? These are all relevant questions, and industry that is working to serve ISRO today, how we need to gear up to handle this transition. We also see that the opportunities for private launching and private operation of missions and launch services, and we wonder if NSIL would also be a partner to this along with private industry. We are also looking at what enablers will be put in place for export of launch vehicle hardware, for example, with the focus on exports, and whether any enablers would be there. At the same time, we have challenges on various raw materials, and any facilitation for import of space grade raw materials, etc., would be put in place. A few suggestions on the new model. This is a new area where the risk is high, and probably where support is required is in the risk capital rather than just in the investment of capital. And we look at how the government would support us in providing this kind of risk capital. So maybe the US model of supporting ULA and SpaceX could be followed here in India as well. We look forward to a structured process of deregulation, liberalization, privatization, and globalization of space. We also look forward to various tax incentives which would enable industry to participate in the space sector. For example, investments that are made inside space premises, ISRO premises, could be, given 50 to 70% tax incentives, etc. The important part of insurance for space activities is an important subject, and what enablers would be there for this. We also look forward that large programs are contracted in a turnkey mode to enable industry to gather together, form a tierized industry, and provide integrated solutions. From an L&T perspective, some of the opportunities that we see coming out of this are the PSLV and SSLV system integration and launch operations, operations on LEOP and TT&C services, and of course, participation in human in space technologies. So thank you.
Sorry to interrupt. You have exceeded the time, sir. Kindly conclude.
Yeah, I'm done. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, sir, for bringing up various points as seen by L&T. We have noted down some of your valid points, and also perhaps we will come back to you when we question and answer session and try to answer a couple of the points that you have raised. The next next participant would be Godrej Industries. I believe Godrej Industries is represented by Mr. S.M. Vaidya, Senior Vice President, Godrej Aerospace. Vaidya ji, are you there?
Yes, I am there. You able to hear me?
Yeah. Yes, you are loud and clear, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So thank you very much, first of all, ISRO, for getting us into this webinar. And thank you to Chairman G. Narayanan, a close friend of us for our last 3 decades. I think we must thank ISRO that you brought us really to this particular field 30 years back. And as on date, we have supplied many systems practically in every launch and every spacecraft. So thank you for handholding for all these 30 years. And today giving us a real pleasure and a surprise that private industry can now work along with you in more partnerships than we were earlier thinking. And even with taking certain parts of your job as independently our own initiatives and support you in these activities. So it was a pleasant surprise. Thank you very much. Now we have taken a very bold step. My request is to take it very fast. Normally, all these initiatives are good on paper, but take a very long time. With the current able leadership, right from chairman to yourself, I think you will be able to really push it very fast and make it as a great success. While we are on particular subject, and we have been focusing and concentrating mainly into the liquid side, starting from the Vikas engines, then to cryo, and today the semi-cryo engines. I think liquid is going to be our specialty, and we would like to continue in this particular area. However, where we would really like to get participated and put our own money also in this is into the complete satellite propulsion system. That is something which we feel that we'll be able to do it on our own. Even the remote sensing ground systems, where we have already supplied more than 12, we have quite a good understanding on that. And we are prepared to work on GoCo concept for integration. So we have been making Vikas engines, as you know, it is only a pre-assembled. We have not yet started or learned how to do a functionally assembled engine. And that will be the next step before we can give it to HAL for integration into the various stages. One of the important points of the private participation in PSLV would be to start learning this the integration of the Viking engines or the Vikas engines. I will just conclude my this one by saying that there is a little amount of trust deficit in our system, and if we have to really make private partnerships successful, I will urge that we should take extraordinary steps to build trust in each other to a much higher level. And the way we are inspecting and inspecting and inspecting can be stopped. So that is one thing. Secondly, I will just say to the industry that our model of making Vikas engine along with MTR as our consortium partner has been very successful, and we have produced more than 150 engines. And this is a time where I think we should really consider ourselves more on consortium rather than a competition. So thank you. I have extended a little bit, but thank you very much for giving me those extra 40 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for also restricting yourself to the exact amount of time that has been allotted. You will all understand the stress that it has on managing the time here on our side, sir. Thank you very much for bringing out the wonderful relation that we share. And each time our engine fires, we fondly remember of you, sir.
Thank you so much.
The next participant is Walchand Nagar Industries. I believe Mr. Chirag Doshi is available online. Mr. Doshi, please go ahead.
Thank you very much for having me on this call. Sri Narayan, CMD, NSIL. It's a real pleasure being here. I figure this panel is to put forth questions and doubts that we may have. If you don't mind, I'll take the liberty of sending a note from my team at some other point with a list of doubts and questions if there may be. I would rather just express an expectation and maybe give a little bit of thanks on behalf of Walchand Nagar Industries to ISRO and DOS. The Thanksgiving is based on the fact that, as you know, I don't need to express, but Walchand Nagar has been pretty much part of the space program from inception, 5 decades now, I would say. And the Thanksgiving comes from the fact that in those early nascent days, when private industry was getting involved with the government to launch what is now today probably the world's greatest space program, the government and ISRO spent a lot of time nurturing us as small companies, hand-holding us, supporting us both physically, financially, technologically, and allowing us as private industry to participate in such a large way, as has been expressed even in the morning session. I heard the whole session, by Chairman Sivanji, that we really have played a big role in building this space program over the last sort of 50 years. And that has to do with all the help and all the support that we got practically for free, if I may say, from ISRO, and therefore my purpose of coming here to give thanks. My expectation of in space that we go back to those days of the 1970s And our endeavor now going forward should be to support and encourage a whole lot of young entrepreneurs who are on this call and will be speaking later, I'm sure, to really strive and grow the way y'all have supported us as established industry today. And I hope on behalf of Valchanagar Industries, we too are able to help, support, invest in some of these young entrepreneurs to really build their businesses and make the entire process and the vision of InSpace successful, and see that over the next 20 years, there is absolutely no doubt which country will have the greatest space program going forward. So thank you very much for having me on the call, and I look forward to deep interaction between Valchanagar and the entire space program over the next 50 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Doshiji. You made a very important point on hand-holding and how you expect InSpace to take this forward and give impetus to hand-holding and guiding the whole lot of young entrepreneurs that you refer to. We take note of this suggestion of yours, and I'm sure that InSpace will also eventually look into this in a big way. Now, that brings us to the next speaker. It is BrahMos Aerospace Limited. I believe represented by Vice Admiral Raman Prabhat. Prabhat, sir, are you there?
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. Raman Prabhat, BrahMos Aerospace. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, loud and clear, sir. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I think the morning session was very enlightening and clearly the vision of the country and in line with the Prime Minister's thinking, encouraging the private industry to participate. It has been an eye-opener to all of us, especially to me. BrahMos Aerospace, a lot of us misunderstand the terminology BrahMos. About 30% of our turnover space sector, and we look forward to more participation in the country's endeavor, especially encouraging the private industries like us and co-partners sitting together to take the initiative forward. The morning session, basically the overall concept and the plan was laid out as to how this whole implementation is going to work. But we need to operationalize it and take it to the ground level so that we are able to understand exactly and achieve the goal at the shortest possible time. One of the concepts mentioned and also discussed about 2 years ago was a tier concept, a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 concept, along with one group being the solid propulsion side and second group being the liquid propulsion side. I don't think that's going to work now. Perhaps we are not clear as yet, at least I'm not clear, as whether we are going to have a consortium-based approach, and in that consortium, are we going to have a consortium leader who's going to be speaking to NSIL? How are we going to implement this basic concept on the ground? It's a good concept, and we need to see how to implement it on the ground. All of us participating here have our own skills and expertise in our respective areas. We've all been manufacturing component level, sub-assembly level, even assemblies, which have been going for the PSLE program and for the GSLE program. How are we going to synergize all our efforts together so that we're able to make this objective a success? I think that is one thing we need to look at. Some sort of a policy letter needs to come out from InSpace or from NSIL as to how are we going to put this into place. One important element which we as the industry will be looking at, what is the future market like as far as this participation is concerned? Is it going to be governed by the policies of the NSIL, and how much is the market? At least in the next 5 years or so, how is it going to show up, that we need to understand. One important area which has been the prime expertise of ISRO is the integration at the platform level and thereafter also at the launch pad. These are not available to the industry right now. If the industry is going to take over these functions, it, I suppose, has to be in stages. Perhaps we can define over the next 5 years or so. We have participation from the industry by way of manpower, say by about 20% per year, so that progressively at the end of 5 years, about 100% participation would be from the industry. In that way, it will also be a learning curve over these 5 years, and over time, the industry will be able to step in, meet the functions of this initiative which the government has taken. The other thing which we have to look at is support from, presently we're getting all the material from ISRO, that also have to be taken care of by the acceptance and testing procedures also. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. We take note of your concern on the implementation and operationalization part of the reforms that we have talked about in the morning. We are aware of that, and definitely our senior management is working on that as of now. And your important point that you made is about the consortium approach. I'm sure that Mr. Narayan maybe will respond to you on that when the question answer session happens. Now that brings us to the next participant, MTAR Technologies, who is Mr. Sudhakar Reddy. I believe Mr. Sudhakar Reddy is representing MTAR Technologies. Mr. Reddy, are you there?
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
Yeah.
Please go ahead, Mr. Reddy.
Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much for this, sir. We are in activities for the last 3 decades. For that, we are doing a Vikas engine consortium with CUS engines, CE20 engines, and fluid control components. We are making for PSLV, GSLV, Mark 1, Mark 2, all these engines. Now, so we are quite excited to take up more challenges in this new era of private partnership. Whatever the challenges you want to give to private industry, we are also like to participate all your future missions. So in this transition period, sir, whatever the present business is going on with industry, so what is the effect of this now during this transition period on the present business? That also you have to take care without affecting industry in the future business. Also, I feel risk is high for industry for the complete missions. What you are aiming for, the mitigation of this risk is a big challenge for ISRO as well as for industry. So you have to take care of that also. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sudhakar Reddy. We are, have very good relations with MTAR Technologies, and each time we see a precision manufactured component, we think of MTAR. Thank you for being associated with us, and thanks for the suggestions that you have made, especially related to the risk mitigation and management in the future endeavors. That brings us to the next speaker. Next participant is Data Patterns India Private Limited. I believe Mr. Rangarajan is online. Rangarajan, sir?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sir. Loud and clear. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much for organizing this and allowing Data Patterns to be part of this. We're very honored to be part of this space program. And the first thing is, this is an exciting time for the industry and especially Data Patterns. We have been, preparing and developing for this kind of a large opening up and contribute substantively in the space program for the last 20 odd years. And we should thank, as every other participant here has been doing, ISRO for its handholding all these years. We started about 25 years back building checkout equipment for ISRO, and we probably built the largest number of test systems, maybe more than 90% of launch vehicle program. The test systems supplied by Data Patterns. And over the period of years, we have upgraded almost all of your radars, tracking radars, and also completed full development design of radars, for which we thank ISRO. What we've learned in the last 20 years is, imbibed ISRO culture, understood the design and validation processes of ISRO, the QA procedures, and also certain domain, which was, in radars and other areas which we worked with. And this has been the actual foundation for Data Patterns. From here, we grew into DRDO, where we are now doing complete radars, complete electronic warfare systems, avionics, and also electronics across the profile to up to 40 gigahertz RF and microwave systems. So that has been the first part of our journey. Now, continuing with the space program, what we did is, since we wanted to aggressively participate in launch systems and other areas, we have independently started investing in building a complete satellite. We have done a fully redundant, scalable nano satellite, including the telecommand telemetry station, ground station, receivers, etc. And these parts which we have designed have been launched and also used by your nanosatellite program. ISRO utilizes all our parts which has been designed by us. And this is enabled because we made an expert committee with ex-ISRO scientists, experts, with whom we understood the domain, understood the design validation of a complete satellite system, and the integration and test requirement. This enabled and helped us build the overall systems. Today we are having 2 orders. We are developing, actually producing 2 satellites for the private industry. One is going to get launched very shortly from Russia. The other one probably will be launched by ISRO. So we are doing that today. Basically, the idea of doing this is to try to build a complete competency to build entire satellites. This is what we've been doing, and we've been doing it over the past 5 years now. And this satellite is actually, we're building it as a product so that we can, enhance the product or modify it to meet suitable requirements. So that the advantage of learning is captured, and we build a foundation to build bigger systems tomorrow. We spend more than 15 odd crores in development to see that this capability is done. Okay, already 3 minutes. Okay, so point is, in this point, I think if you have to make this potential grow, we have certain doubts as how to do this, because we've been working with ISRO on small systems, whatever opportunities they've given us. But where is the market coming? Is it market? Second is, what is the hand-holding to be done, and what kind of processes this is going to come in? Now, we're very happy with the NSIL, very happy with InSpace, but we just worried where the market is going to come for building the rest of the programs. So I have a few suggestions in this area. In the market, till now, we have been asking, all the industry to do production of already designed parts, and you're hand-holding us to qualification procedures and all that. We also do that the airborne systems and avionics for production for ISRO on the launch vehicle as well as satellite program. Our request is that on the new generation programs, why don't we allow full systems and subsystems to be designed and manufactured with hand-holding from ISRO and go through design reviews. This will probably help us build competency and scalability within the organizations to address this overall overarching definition of Indian industry in space. We need to do that. I'm also suggesting a thing, I don't know if it's possible, where the funding is going to come for new programs. If InSpace can be a routing agency for newer satellites to be developed, whether...
Sir, I would request you to conclude, sir. You've well past your allotted time.
Okay, fine. So the idea is, we have still questions on market, how the finance is going to come from, how do you want to scale this business? These questions, maybe I'll write the note across and send it across to the committee a bit later. Thank you very much for having us part of this show.
Thank you, Rangarajan, sir. When we talk about new space and the new space entities all over the country, you have really led from the front in commercial use of commercial components and how to exploit the potential of commercial components in space satellites and space applications. And we very happily have been associated with you in this venture, and I'm sure that in days to come, a lot has to be done in this area. And we take your point very well on the market survey and to allow new designs to be flown on the space systems. We will look into those points, sir. Thank you very much. And now the next participant would be ASACO Private Limited. I believe Mr. A. Srinivasan, MD of ASACO, is available with us. Mr. Srinivasan, are you there, sir? Mr. Srinivasan of ASACO. Perhaps we will go to the next participant. Maybe Mr. Srinivasan is not available right now. In case he joins before the session ends, we will give him a chance to speak. The next participant would be Midani, Mr. Dhatu Nigam Limited from Hyderabad. I believe Mr. S.K. Jha of Midani is available. Mr. Jha, are you there? We are just checking whether Mr. Jha is there, or is there some communication gap between us?
Yeah, I'm available here. I'll just start. So, first of all, thank you for giving us the opportunity. And I'd like to mention here that our partnership with ISRO is right from the beginning. And with this, we have developed the number of facilities. And today, if I say that all the materials, whatever we have supplied to ISRO so far, has been fully indigenized, and we can say proudly that India can have its own material. We did not depend on any other source. And today, when we are talking about the Atmanirbhar, this is the basic block where we have completely made our Atmanirbharta for the Indian industry and for the ISRO requirements. I did not mention all the grades and all, but some of the unique things what we have made here has gone for all this. Either you call it Vikas engine, or even I would say that our this rocket motor casing. Any grades of material has been developed by Midhani, has been supplied for the ISRO requirements. We are also working for the advanced materials, which is going for the futuristic requirement for the ISRO. So our partnership is not only for a customer and vendor relationship. We have developed the technology, mastered the technology, and that is the reason why we have the complete value chain of material available. With this opening of the ISRO, the space sector, I feel that this part with our basic things will be available. Only I have to make only a little bit caution that how we are going to develop the partnership or consortium in the new scenario. And that's what has been expressed by all of us in this platform. This model has to be worked out. And in I can say that nutshell that in any case, when we go for opening up our space sector, we should not depend again on any foreign source of supplier. So we should be totally from our indigenous supply. Wherever indigenous technology is there, it should grow, it should develop. We should not try to bring a technology from the outside and try to kill our own technology. We can build up whatever technology you are having. You can build up extra effort by the coming from the outside. There's no problem in that. But this opening of the space sector, my concern or my interest is that what I want to see that our total technology, whatever we have developed for the country with a lot of effort by our ISRO team, should be there, and that should be utilized for our space program to prosper in the future. That's what I guess. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jha. Thanks for the suggestions that you have made, and we are mindful of some of the points that you have mentioned, and we will definitely look into those points. I believe the next participant, Keltron, is not available. She's come? Oh, Ms. Hemalata, madam, are you there?
We can see her. We can.
Please unmute, madam. Please unmute. Madam, kindly unmute your microphone and speak on, madam.
Okay. You have to.
Yeah, okay, you are audible now.
You are audible now, madam. You can start.
Okay. Good afternoon, Sri Narayan, CMD, NSIL, and the panelists. First of all, let me thank this panel, ISRO, and the entire team for the webinar of unlocking the Indian. We had a meeting 1 year back on the same concept, and Keltron had participated with high hopes. Regarding the formation space, is a welcome for the industry's perspective, but we are slightly concerned. Historically, ISRO has been engaging industries in a significant manner, especially in the area of fabrication, electronic package production, and testing. Keltron has been associated with the program from 1992 onwards, sir. We were especially working in the area of electrical harnessing, sub-assemblies, electronic package fabrication, and testing of the packages. Almost 40 to 50 Keltron fabricated electronic packages are flying in each of the PSLV bar GSLV programs. Almost 100 trained personnel are associated with us, associated with ISRO activities at Keltron. We would like now, Keltron is looking at migrating from the packages to sub-assemblies and then going into more higher levels of production instead of just first level or second level. So we are looking into sub-assembly supplies to the entire program. Now with this new concept, we don't know how we are going to fit in. Recently, Keltron has established a reflow soldering facility, and also we are in the process of commissioning the clean room facility for the fabrication of satellite system electronic packages. ISRO has been helping us to set up the facility, and we are almost done through. Within 1 month, we will be completing that. Let me come to my second point. We are proud to state that Vikram Sarabhai Space Center has identified Keltron as the nodal center for providing training and certification in high reliability soldering and inspection of the satellite launch vehicle electronic packages. The course has already commenced at Keltron. With the formation of InSpace and a new outsourcing policy, it is essential to remove the apprehensions of vendors. I think I have been hearing that with each vendor. So ISRO vendors have already established many facilities in considerable infrastructure cost and trained manpower availability. The in-space policy shall be formulated or should address our existing concerns and vendors also. We should not get gobbled into the aggregation. Earlier we were talking about L&T or L&T and HL taking over the entire integration. So we are really concerned. I hope all have been existing. I am slightly more open in this. Please don't take it in the negative. And it will be very helpful if InSpace can provide a business projection for the next 5 years in line with the recent announcement of the Defense Ministry. And for indigenization, we are also concerned about the reduction in the business that is going to happen post-COVID also. I wish the webinar all success to formulate the new initiative in emerging space sector. Thank you very much, sir. Not able to hear. Sir, not audible.
Okay, no, I think it is.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much, madam. Now you are able to hear us?
Yeah, we can hear.
Yeah, madam.
Yes.
So I will go ahead and assure you that you need not have any concern, and no existing vendor of ISRO needs to have any concern related to the reforms or what is going to happen in the near future. Having said that, now we'll go to the next speaker.
No, sir. Next level, we should be encouraged for the next level. Sub-assembly packages should also be encouraged.
Definitely, madam. Definitely.
Go to the next
get
level.
Your point. We get your point, madam. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next participant is BHEL. I believe BHEL is represented by Mr. Yadu Nandan.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon to all. I'm Yadu Nandan from BHEL. Sir, BHEL is associated with ISRO technology for more than 2 decades. Our long association with ISRO has given fruitful results in terms of supply of quality space-grade panels and batteries, and same planned for the same in lithium-ion cells in this year. The stringent quality norms of ISRO for space-grade applications have been proven by BHEL with the use of these products in satellites over the years. BHEL would like to place on record our sincere thanks to ISRO for making BHEL as a reliable business partner for nearly 2 decades for producing quality products and for Indian space industry. Besides our commitment to ISRO on the present and future products, we would like to be associated with ISRO on more areas. Our specific requirements from InSpace can be summarized as follows. Point number 1. Many of the facilities at ISRO for its panel and battery fabrications are state-of-art and needs huge investment for establishing and running. BHEL would therefore like to utilize the excellent facilities available in ISRO in its different units for our product developments, both for ISRO and non-ISRO requirements, either on payment basis or through MOU route. ISRO is requested to assist BHEL for the same. Second point, of late, many organizations are approaching BHEL to take up space-grade panels and batteries for the strategic requirement based on our experience in the field. One of the main bottleneck is the sourcing of main raw materials, that is space-grade solar cells. BHEL would therefore like to procure space-grade multi-junction solar cells from ISRO and BEL JV company for such requirement. Then point number 3, with the Government of India's Make in India concept, BHL has acquired ISRO technology for production of space-grade lithium-ion cells, which will commercialize this year. BHL is looking for more such technology transfer from ISRO to commercialize their indigenously developed products similar to lithium-ion cells manufacturing. With our expertise on electronics and material processing and our long association with ISRO for delivering quality products, we are very keen for long partnership with ISRO in key technology commercialization. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. We take note of the points that you have told, especially your request that BHL would like to use our facilities for ISRO products as well as products to other vendors. Perhaps we will come back to that during the question answer session. The next participant would be Alpha Design Technologies. Colonel Shankar is there. Colonel Shankar, sir, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Narayanan and friends from NSIL and ISRO and my other industry friends. I've got 5 points. I'll straight away get on to that. One is on integration and testing. We have already done 2 satellites. One is 1.5 tons capacity IRNSS 1I, which is up there in the sky for the Indian GPS program. And the second one, about 5 months back, the 3.5 ton GSAT 30, which has been launched from French New Guyana, all done by our boys under ISRO's guidance. And now they are doing the IRSAT, which is expected to be launched probably in the month of November. So in this program, we are assembling integration testing and the knowledge base has been built up. My request with respect, and we are doing it as a consortium. We have got New Tech and IDEN and all that as part of us. Few of the representatives are also from them. Now my request in this is that we get all the materials and all that from ISRO. Instead of that, these can themselves be given as a responsibility to us. And there are 2 more industries who are doing like this, Bharat Electronics and Tata's. We can ourselves procure these items from your recognized vendors, including the materials and all that. That would reduce the work content and unnecessary routine work which ISRO is doing today. So this may be considered. The second is on the small satellite area. It's very good that Eminent Space has come in now to give a thrust to this. In this, we want to know how exactly we get the support from InSpace, as also for these small satellites that is manufactured and sent outside to the outer space. What are the in-service and the specific control, and then for the diagnostics of the information and processing it, and then to spread it. What are the facilities which we can make use of in this particular area is of great interest to the industries, not only for us but for everybody else. Then SAT Ahmedabad has developed certain key technologies, particularly with respect to the payloads like electro-optics and the synthetic aperture radar. That should be made available to the interested industries so that versions of that could be developed and utilized for these purposes from the industry itself. The third is on the launch vehicles, which Mr. Narayanan himself is driving it now so nicely. Our request is kindly take quick decisions now on shortlisting the consortium members, which there are 5 consortiums, I believe. We are taking part as part of Adani and then Bharat Electronics and BHEL. Similarly, I am told that Tata's and L&T, of course, will be there, and Walchan Nagar and all that. So my request is that kindly take quick decisions so that we can go further ahead. We are prepared to make the investment. 1 minute, sir. 1 minute. One point forgotten in the space sector is the ground segment, which is very important. Hubs and the antenna receiving stations, all of them will have to be established, and for that again I request ISRO to give priority. The last but not least is the joint ventures which we in the private sectors would like to have both in India and abroad, so that a quicker development and quicker productionization is done to meet the specific standards of ISRO, and also it will help in export potential being exploited through the OEMs. So we want this also to be considered and given the priority. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colonel Shankar. Thank you. You are no stranger to us. We are fondly associated with you and your team in realizing some of our satellites. Thanks a lot for your insights. The next participant would be Centum Electronics Limited. I believe Mr. Apparao is available. Mr. Apparao, please go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody, and it's a real pleasure to be here this afternoon. As a company, we started our association with ISRO about 20 years ago, and today we actually built a complete payload. So it's been a great experience and a learning process with ISRO. I'll jump right into the point that I really want to make. ISRO has created an excellent base of technical competency, infrastructure, human resources, and set an excellent stage for the use of space technology for national development. As the saying goes, change is constant, and the reforms announced by the government will bring new vibrancy into the space sector, creating new opportunity for the existing and new stakeholders. While the spirit of the reforms is to create new opportunity to expand, scale, and grow, we have to be careful that the spirit is not lost during implementation. Significant resources have been deployed both by the government and the private sector to create the stage up until now, and we should be careful that we make sure we leverage what we have created. And what shouldn't happen is in our hurry to change, we throw the baby with the bathwater. Let me explain what I mean by this. By an example, before the mobile phone revolution in our country, we were building our own landline networks. And there was a certain amount of technology, manufacturing capabilities, human resources, including supply chain ecosystem. Then the cell phone revolution came. And of course, we have to make the change to derive the benefit of the mobile technology. But in doing so, when it came to implementation, the then existing ecosystem was forgotten and imports were allowed. Guess what happened? The Nokias, the Ericssons, the Alcatels of the world sold the cell phone infrastructure to India worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Guess what? The base stations were built in China. So we had a situation where the base stations were imported from European companies who made the money and the jobs were created in China. Of course, we got the benefits of the cell phone revolution, but lost an opportunity to bring new technology, create new jobs, and create a new ecosystem in India. This is what we have to be very careful about and make sure we capture the full value additions the reforms intend to bring. The hard-to-build ecosystem established by ISRO should be groomed and further expanded by engaging existing and new players during the transition from ISRO-led activity to demand-based activity. So this is really the point that I'm trying to make, that while there's always a slip between the cup and the lip, and we really need to be careful while we do the implementation. So that's really what I wanted to say. It's a very high level because I don't want to repeat what my other colleagues, industry colleagues mentioned, but I really believe implementation is key to make this whole thing successful and of course keep the ecosystem alive and kicking and improve and grow. With this, I want to stop and I wish the new space economy and all my colleagues who are on this panel and outside of it, all the very best. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Apparao. Sir, we are also mindful that the new should not hamper the old, and we will ensure that this is taken into consideration when the implementation of these reforms happen. Now it brings us to the next speaker. The participant is Agnikul Cosmos, represented by Mr. Srinath Ravichandran. Mr. Ravichandran, you're there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, and thank you so much, sir, for inviting me to talk as one of the startups in this community. We have a lot of players here. You've been working with ISRO for quite some time, so I really appreciate this opportunity. I had 1 or 2 slides to share, sir, so I'll just do that so that we can just go through the points quickly. Keep it 3 minutes. So can you see my slides, sir?
Yeah, we can see your slide.
Thank you, sir. So yes, for everyone, I am from Agnikul, one of the co-founders of the company, and we are building a small launch vehicle here that can take 100 kgs to low Earth orbit. Just by way of introduction on what we are doing, we are looking at a complete made in India for the world solution, where the rocket is capable of carrying 100 kgs to space, and it will sort of be complementing ISRO's current vehicles at the lowest end of the payload capacity spectrum, as we see it. So that is what we are developing. And we are doing this with engines that are electric pump fed semi-cryogenic engines. So, and the rocket itself will be driven by a cluster of these, 7 of these in the first stage and 1 of these in the second stage, and so on. And we are focused on having a tailor-made configuration depending upon the customers itself. And we want to be having the capacity to launch this from any launch port that ISRO authorizes us to launch from. So that is the technology, and we believe this will add to the Made in India movement and the whole Atmanirbhar Bharat movement, and we'll be adding also a small piece to the space community in India as well. So going back to the comments and questions, so just 1 minute on these as well. So primarily, I think this is an extremely encouraging announcement for all of us, sir, both to the bigger private players and also to upcoming players like us. So first of all, a big thank you for all that. And I think some of you might already be aware, but we are already in talks with InSpace, and we've had a couple of conversations which have been very fruitful, and we would like to take it forward with you, sir. A couple of questions, if you can answer them towards the end. 3 questions, I have 4 questions I have. One thing is there going to be any selection process involved in choosing players who InSpace will choose to help? That is one. Second thing is on the microsatellites part. This is a little more focused on Agnikul itself. So will ISRO ever be doing microsatellites for its own needs? And if that is the case, can private launch players like us also bid in, trying to see if we can also have an opportunity to launch those? It'll increase some business potential for us also, sir. So just wanted to hear your thoughts on that. And second, I think I've heard in the past, announcements that private players will also be allowed to participate in deep space missions. So just wanted to see if in-house systems can also be, will ISRO be entertaining use of those systems as well, sir? And finally, again, a little more on the launch licensing itself. Wanted to have a few questions on whether it will be like a single Windows system, or how the approach would be, particularly for getting launch approval and vehicle clearance for actually, going and launching itself. So these were some of the questions I had, sir. So if you can address these towards the end, that will be really good. And again, thanks a lot. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to come and present here, and thanks for the whole initiative, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ravichandran. We very happily make note of the slogan that you've written, Made in India for the World. And we hope that more young entrepreneurs like you latch on to this slogan and do more for the country. That's what these reforms are all about. Thank you so much. That brings us to the last participant of the day, Skyroot Aerospace. I believe Mr. Bharat Deka is there online. Mr. Bharat.
Hi. Hi, I'm audible?
Yeah. Please sure. Go ahead.
Thank you. So first of all, thanks to ISRO, NSIL, and InSpace for giving us this opportunity to present our views. I'm Bharat, co-founder of Skyroot Aerospace. We design and build launch vehicles that carry small satellites into low Earth orbit up to 300 kg of capacity. And currently, we're actively manufacturing various subsystems of our first launch vehicle, Vikram-1, which is named after Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. And recently, we testified successfully our upper stage engine, which showed very promising results. And with the help of ISRO, we are planning to test other stage level propulsion systems over the coming few quarters and eventually launch in the ISRO launching facilities when we are ready to launch. So I have few requests to make, and coming to, so I'll just list 3 of the requests I want to explicitly make here. And number 1 is, it would be very useful if a detailed white paper explaining the functions and responsibilities of each directorate of InSpace and highlighting the eligibility criteria and process of evaluation for all sorts of applications is released to public, so that it will be very transparent on the process, and applications also will be well prepared when they know the process of evaluation. And the second request is, we request the Department of Space to release the space activities bill in its current form to take the opinion from all industry stakeholders before tabling it in the parliament. I know it's been done in 2017 before, but I am sure the form of it has been changed significantly, and it is better to take a second opinion or opinion from the industry stakeholders before tabling it in the parliament. Number three is more of a specific request when it comes to insurance activities. The Safety Directorate of InSpace it should help new space startups in a way that if and when any sort of liability insurance is required, those can be availed by the startups at very affordable premiums. And the liability insurance should not become a huge barrier for operations for new space startups that utilizing ISRO's test facilities or launch site facilities is what I feel, and I will hope this will be considered. And finally, through Space Federation of India, which is a non-profit initiative to advance and streamline the interest of new space startups in India, we have sent over a compilation of views and suggestions with respect to space policy reform and functioning of InSpace from more than 20 private startups and SMEs. And it will reach you soon, sir, and hope it will be considered with importance. So thanks again for this opportunity. We hope to see many public-private partnerships and co-development opportunities with ISRO for the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bharat. That was a nice talk from you and we understand your interest in the roles and responsibilities of directorates of InSpace. Actually, quickly try to answer to you and Mr. Ravichandran. Both of you have asked about some processes related to InSpace. I would request you to see the online video on YouTube about the session that we had in the morning. Our scientific secretary gave a very clear explanation on what is the process involved in approaching InSpace for various aspects. That will give you a baseline understanding of how InSpace is going to work and what are the directorates involved there. I of course understand that you would like to have more insights and more in-depth understanding of the working, and I'm sure that we will be able to make it available to you as and when things evolve. So that's I hope I've answered a part of what you had in mind. With that, we come to the conclusion of the participants talk in this session. We'll try to see.
Check whether Asako has joined.
No, sir. No, I checked that. Now we'll try to see whether we can take a few questions from you as well as those online who have posted some questions on YouTube internet. I will start. Maybe I'll pose a question or two to Mr. Narayanan, and he will start the answering session. Sir, there was a question on the market dynamics and how have you assessed the market dynamics and on what basis these reforms have been put forth?
No, basically these reforms, I may say, is a natural evolution of what has happened in the space sector in the country. We had initially started, ISRO was primarily spearheading the total development in the country. Initially, companies started contributing by making small parts. Later, some of the major companies started graduated further into the next level, where they started giving subsystems. And today, there are companies who are supplying the entire launch vehicle stages to the launch pad, launch spaceport directly. Same is the case today with the satellites also. The few companies have come forward and they have started integrating the total launch vehicle satellites. What is the next step? Next step is the industry by themselves to come up and do these kind of activities. Develop a launch vehicle, develop a design and develop a satellite. Precisely what Skyroot and Agnikul are doing today in the area of launch vehicles. We expect more and more companies in every area, end-to-end areas of space, to come up with such models and support the nation's requirement in space. There was a very humble statement made in one of the presentations of Agnikul. We are trying to complement ISRO at the lower end of their engines requirement. We expect the companies like Agnikul and Skyroot to replace ISRO itself in the long run and take up the mantle and be independent operators of launch vehicles the country may need. ISRO has much more responsibilities to do. by venturing into newer areas, newer developments that can be further taken over by industries and carried forward. So this is the driving motive behind this reforms, and I am sure these companies, few of them who have already come up, few are in the pipeline, they have not come up without doing any market survey or anything like that. And with the kind of development that is happening in these companies as well as other sectors globally, the demand for space is always high. There is no dearth. We have also seen how the growth has happened in the country from what have it used to be a couple of launches in a year to about 8 to 10 launches happening and putting so many satellites in the orbit, and every launch being curiously looked forward by the user community. So this defines what the demand is, and I'm sure there need not be any doubt on the market potential. Market will be there. If not from ISRO, it will come from somebody else. But if they are able to replace ISRO, until such time, ISRO will continue to source the products from the industries. Today morning in the opening session also, Chairman ISRO had very specifically mentioned, without industries, there is no ISRO. So industries will be there as a co-traveler in the space journey of ISRO or Department of Space or ENSIL for that matter.
Sir, the next one was in terms of a suggestion on the request to InSpace to provide wholesome support and encouragement to whole lot of entrepreneurs. I will try to react on that. Of course, InSpace will be going a long way in supporting and encouraging entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs to be more specific, and the means and ways of approaching and dealing with InSpace have been brought out by our scientific secretary in the morning session in a basic manner, but more details will be worked out in due course of time, and those will be made available to the public. And sir, I will just bring your notice one more question which we anticipated: the impact of these transition and these reforms on the existing contracts. And like Mr. Apparao said, you don't topple the old for the want of new. Can you respond on that, sir?
Basically, none of these reforms are aimed at changing the system that we are working. The same demand, same requirement will continue either from some source in Department of Space. It will come either from ISRO or from ENSIL. And one thing that I can tell you is that today, many of you have also referred that we have the PSLV production, which we are trying to bring in under the ENSIL purview to start with. We have already received few proposals from 5 or 6 companies. Some of them are on a consortium basis, some are on individual basis. Nevertheless, you all will know that space is a highly involved and a high reliability requirement business, where a new supply chain can never replace an existing supply chain overnight. So we are trying to protect to a large extent the available supply chain of PSLV in the new initiative also. The same thing will continue for future also, but the competitiveness and the innovativeness will definitely play a role, and those with competitive and innovative methodologies and procedures will definitely take over in the longer run. But for the present, the existing things will continue and it will be carried forward. There is no dearth on that.
Sir, there was a lot of mention and interest on the various kinds of models that are in space, and the new reforms will be looking into. Perhaps I'll request Mr. Baluragi to respond on the model that we have chosen for PSLV productionization, and can you talk a little bit more on that?
No, the current method of making PSLVs. The current method of making PSLVs, all industries are realizing hardware, and that comes to ISRO and further integrate into system and integrate at launch pad and operate the launches. Now, this further steps what it's going to be operated through NCL in future is the end-to-end PSLV, like from hardware to including material procurement, system engineering, or integrating, then taking it to launch pad, assembling stages over stages, all and carry out all checkouts and launches. Complete end-to-end activities is expected to be carried out by industries. That is what is expected.
Okay. There was one question from BHL. For ISRO products or for products to be made for their other customers. I think without any ambiguity, the answer is yes. We are welcoming you to come and use our facilities. Of course, the modalities, the costing or the memorandum of understanding, as you suggested, those details have to be worked out. But the answer is a big yes. You are welcome to come and use ISRO facilities. And in this, I will also try to answer on one of the things that the GM of HAL Aerospace Division cautioned us on the clash of facilities when these kind of usages will begin. I'm sure that we will be able to work out on the clash of managing the clash of any facilities usage and priorities thereof. Now we'll go to one more question.
I will supplement a bit there.
Yeah.
There were also questions on whether InSpace will be selective in allowing applicants there. InSpace is open to all. Anybody who requires support can approach InSpace, and for that matter, already Department of Space and ISRO has initiated actions. There is a contact detail given in the website of ISRO. Whomever requires InSpace support prior to formal formation and inception of InSpace, the ISRO has already initiated the actions, and you can approach ISRO right away with your requirements for facility usage and other support which is required from InSpace. I hope this will also address some of the concerns that people told that the policies are better addressed on paper but not on the ground. So this definitely shows the commitment that ISRO has for the proposed reform structure, and even before InSpace has come into operation, ISRO has pitched in and started activities in these directions.
Sir, there was one interesting question about microsatellites. In case ISRO requires microsatellites, whether a private vendor can offer their microsatellite. Can you please respond on that?
I think I made a statement some time back that the very polite statement made that they complement ISRO at the lower end of the engine. What we expect is that they replace ISRO itself in the total launch market in the ultimate. So that answers everything.
Okay, Balragi, you have some questions.
Sir, online there were many questions, but more relevant questions are like this. What will be the legal liability framework and insurance requirements for manufacturers of satellites and launch vehicles?
Yeah, this is a highly involved question. The point here is that this is a specific point that will be addressed by InSpace once it will be in place. But one thing that I can assure you is that it will be a user-friendly framework that will be put in place, which will be affordable also.
So one more question. Yeah, we'll take one more question.
Yeah, the other question what being asked is ISRO is going towards heavy lift launch vehicle and reusable launch vehicle systems with the help of private companies in the coming year. Yeah, certainly there is no, even now itself like PSLV, all this launch with GSLV Mark 3 and all 80-85% of the systems or hardwares are being supplied by industry itself. So all these even new programs what ISRO is going to come up in future, in all the programs, private companies will be participating much more than what is being done now.
Okay, sir. I think that's all time we have for the question answer session. We would like to thank all the participants, and I request Mr. Narayanan to give his closing remarks.
So, yeah. We are joined today here today by the Scientific Secretary of ISRO, Mr. Umamaheshwaran. He will give a short address to you. Please stay by.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Good afternoon, friends. First of all, let me thank all of you for finding out time and spending with us for a very important day. I've been listening to the entire proceeding till now, and it really excites me on the interest that is being shown by the industry, and the very purpose of this these reforms that we are planning. I feel it is vindicated by the response that I am getting or that we are seeing from this proceeding. But why I thought I will just share my some of the views is because I was hearing some of the specific points addressed by a few friends like Dr. Apparao of Centrum and Dr. Shankar from Alpha, and of course the two young entrepreneurs, Skyroot and Agnikul, and some others also. So I briefly what I would like to say here is, let's be very clear on certain points. One is that ISRO is going to continue with its activities, especially with respect to new developments, new research, new technologies, and also the kind of outer space missions. So this is a priority item, and as you know, the ISRO industry collaboration, let's be very clear, it is nothing new. It has been going on for so many years. Even the initial kind of Rohini sounding rockets and SLV time onwards, it is industry who is participating with ISRO. And in the morning session also, we were mentioning that almost 70 to 80% of the fund that is going to the industry only, as far as launch vehicle and satellites are concerned. So there is nothing different, nothing new or something different with respect to the interface and the relationship that we are going to have with industries as far as ISRO's programs are concerned. So let us be very clear on that. Hemalata was also asking a lot of questions in this angle only. Let's not worry about that. That is point number one. Now, point number two is, as far as the commercial activities are concerned, especially items or sectors, like for example, which are very important for the nation, like disaster management or some other science requirements, strategic requirements, etc., which apart from those, all the other commercial requirements, be it communication satellite, be it remote sensing satellite, the entire process will be handled by NCIL. That is the next mandate. So somebody was asking whether the small satellite they can make. Definitely they can make for the requirement of ISRO or somebody else. That is also possible. But the point is, it is NCIL who is going to carry out the commercial aspects of the requirements. So that if NCIL desires, it will send the requirements as far as the satellite making is concerned. The industry is free to bid. And if you win the bid, why not? You will make the satellite and give it to NCIL. So that will be the modality. Even for small satellites or whatever kind of satellites, industry is will be equipped to make, so that you can make the satellites, but you have to bid competitively and win the bid, and you can get it. That will be the mode that's going to happen. Let's be very clear on that. Third thing, mostly 95% of ISRO's requirements will go in the same way as we are planning. Industries will be there. More and more outsourcing to the industries will be there. That is continuing. Now somebody was asking about policies. Yes, SATCOM policy, the Earth observation data related policy are being modified, and very soon they are going to be presented to Parliament, then or rather Cabinet. And we have generated a new navigation policy which is also coming up. We have a space human in space mission policy. We have a launch vehicle policy. All these are coming up, queuing up, and it will be given to the Cabinet very soon, so that you will have some very clarity. Then I want to highlight on one question from Emelata also. She was asking whether InSpace can give a 5-year mandate or something like that. InSpace mandate is not that. Let us be very clear on the roles of InSpace also. InSpace is a promotional, hand-holding, regulatory and authorizing entity. It is not a production entity, it is not a research-oriented entity or anything like that. It's a mechanism to allow and promote private industries to carry out their activities. So that what InSpace is going to do is, anybody can apply to InSpace. There is no, somebody was asking, is there any selection? There is no selection. Anybody can approach InSpace and they can give their requirements. If InSpace decides that these requirements are genuine, they don't pose any threat to the national security, they are not from any, they have no relationship with any of the hostile countries, etc., etc. There are various aspects needs to be considered. Whether it is feasible, whether the company is capable of doing that, all those things InSpace will assess. And if they are finding it satisfactory, InSpace will give the permission as required by the applicant. That is the purpose of InSpace. So InSpace main job also will be to generate a kind of a manifest for the space activities, because now 3 players are coming up. One is ISRO, one is NSIL, and one is private players. So again, the resources will be at premium. Everybody will be will be requiring to use the facilities that ISRO also may be using. So there is a requirement of priority because there can be clashes. So InSpace also has the mandate to decide on the manifest. That is what InSpace is supposed to. So let us be clear on all these aspects. The role of InSpace is different, role of NSIL is different, role of ISRO is different. And now as far as Skyroot was asking a specific question, that also I would like to answer. As Mr. Narayan has already highlighted, we are not waiting for InSpace to be formed. The formal installation of InSpace as an entity will take around 6 months time frame. So we don't want to wait for that. Already there is a mechanism, very clearly it is in website. You go to your website, there is a link provided, there is an email provided. We have a committee here who is working to understand the requirements of the people and start acting on that. Already more than 10 companies have already approached us, and we are on the job of discussing with them, understanding their requirements, generating action points, and going forward. So you can take it assured that InSpace in reality is already started. So let me be very clear. So Skyroot, if you have any questions, you please go through the website and send an email, and we can have a discussions. So that also I want to make it very clear. So I hope the whole policy or the whole strategy of opening of the sector, let us be very clear. It is only to enable the private industries, Indian private industries, to carry out their space activities. They are not, it is not that they are going to do what ISRO is going to do. No, ISRO is going to continue to do its own activities. Private enterprises are now allowed to carry out similar space activities which they envisage and which they feel that it is profitable to them and it is good for the country. And it is also envisaged that the government has decided to go to this to enter into this reform regime because government wants to reduce its burden with respect to investment also. Government expects that industry invests in these activities so that it generates not only the flow of money, it generates opportunities for Indian as a manpower. So this is what I would like to categorically tell you. Thank you very much.
Narayan sir, yeah, please conclude.
Yeah. Okay. So now we have had a very detailed explanation by Mr. Uma Maheshwaran too. Hope most of the points are clear. There was 1 or 2 queries also which was not answered properly. One is about the possibility of using new designs by industries and incorporating it into ISRO's missions and things. I would like to tell you that this is already on. There are few products which are developed by the industries which are directly purchased and used by ISRO in its space missions. Then there was also some mention about allowing the suppliers to buy the material and input parts directly. This also is in vogue for quite some time. Some of them had been successful. Some of them have come back and told, no, you go back to the old system. So it is ISRO has already tried out that, and wherever possible, that will continue to be tried out. There was a question on whether deep space missions opportunities will be given. Already the announcement of opportunity for some collaborative work or some independent development on the human space mission is announced. It's on the website. Morning during the first session also it was highlighted by the scientific secretary. So there need not be any doubt that such a opportunity will be there. Opportunity is already there. You are welcome to utilize that. Then there was a question on InSpace whether it will be a single window clearance committee. As far as the clearances from the space community is concerned, that is the Department of Space is concerned, it will be a single window committee for all clearances that is mandated for space activities. Of course, other related things like frequency or those kind of things, there are other departments which are involved, which you may have to approach them, the Department of Telecommunication or Ministry of Information and Broadcasting and all those things. Otherwise, as far as space is concerned, it will be a single window clearance body. So with this, I think I will conclude now. Rest of your questions, if any, ISRO will be at any time willing to answer any of your queries through mails or other means. So I would, at this time, I would like to thank you all for helping us and carry forward these discussions in a fruitful manner and also to maintain the time. I would also like to place on record the sincere efforts that have been taken by our own teams, the public relations team, the infrastructure, the IT infrastructure team for making this happen. And on not last but not the least, the big support that the Capacity Building Program Office of ISRO under Dr. Venkata Krishnan has given for the conduct of the whole session. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.